Shit. Well, did I read something? Is it empty now, or is it still in there? It's still filled. Okay.
Oh, this and then the acid? Yeah, it's still trapped in resin or something, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, guns are really helpful.
Right?
I should get one.
Solving all kinds of problems, man. Every puzzle has a solution. Oh, look, it's not like it's the same fairy, right? We've met her 3 times in different places. So she's fine. I'm sure the other one is still in the fountain.
Ba-ba-na-na-na. What? There we go.
Golden key. Alright.
Oh, we got so many holes to plug now.
Right? Really happy that you put it that way.
Yeah. All right.
That's good. That made everybody comfortable. Okay, so fun fact, you could just use the flamethrower to melt the resin. Funny. Also sounds like a waste of precious flamethrower ammo.
I wonder how speedruns go in this game. Oh boy.
Uh-huh. Somebody opened up the gold key trigger. Did I?
You're a cue, big boy.
God. All right. Oh, she got the key. Here I come. Squoze his way through from under those boxes. Of course, that's where he was hiding a minute ago. Oh, word? You were waiting for me to walk in here? Well, damn it. Now there's a bunch of stuff to look at, but it's too annoying to let this ring. Hello?
You know, I never had a plan for all the gold. In fact, it quickly became a problem. We couldn't sell it, basically, not without arousing a lot of unwanted attention. We had too much of it too quickly, and the shape, those cylinders. Well, it's not the normal process, is it? But then I had an idea. What if it was the normal process? Or what if we pretended it was? So Marvin and I devised a plan. We just needed a site, a disused gold mine. Mar found one in South America, in Brazil. And you know what? It worked. For a while, at least.
Okay. Discover a source of infinite pure gold. Can't let people know what you found. There's so many medkits, I don't need to take any. Wow. Free infinite medkits? Damn. Okay.
We take those.
Small ones,
Yeah,
at
you're
least.
full.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good stash.
Yeah. So you start sending it to Brazil to pretend you found the gold there. You process it into unrefined ore from being refined. And then Mav hits the old stock market, makes a couple of calls. Ayo, away.
Press the left or right to switch slides. File number 3762 guessed emerged at around 50% root excavation. It varies from specimen to specimen, but they largely retain a human-like appearance. Most distressing, they are capable of a limited, non-verbal form of vocalization.
Man. You think, could these guests be after some, like, cursed gold? You know? Yeah. And now that we got the gold key, and the whole world is like, oh, fuck, she's got the gold key. Red alert, everybody. All the big fuckers. File number 1739, Goblin emerged at 55% root excavation. Despite their small stature, have concluded that they're not infants. On the contrary, they may be senior variants of the guests.
Oh.
Their advanced age causes a weaker genetic makeup, which has diminished their anatomy upon emergence.
File 6413, the spindle emerged at around 60% root excavation. Much of their muscle and fat is missing, but their bones have become elongated. However, the bone mass is spread more thinly and consequently, the bones are brittle. Additionally, without sufficient flesh as cushioning, their joints are weak.
So the further we dig, the worse the things that come out are. The different waves of freaks. 1347, lumber at 60% root excavation, same time as the spindles. Here the opposite phenomenon can be observed, as the lumbers are stiff and stout with excessive muscle and fat. Perhaps this could explain why spindles have insufficient flesh. Oh, they stole from them.
File 5592, the grinner emerged at around 70% root excavation. The form is bipedal, but other similarities to a human body are quickly disappearing. In terms of anatomy, each specimen is vastly different from the next.
Exploding spiky fucks. 80% excavation, puddles. I pray this is my final entry, for I cannot imagine how anything beyond this point would be capable of emergence. Puddles experience widespread cell necrosis. They are quite literally melting.
Alright, back at the top.
50%.
Ugh.
The puddles are the most advanced, ironically.
Emory University, in recognition of the completion of the prescribed course of study, Edward L. Crow has been admitted to the degree of biochemistry. Huh.
Hey Ed, we didn't pass the inspection. They figured out that the ore is homemade. The Brazilian authorities want to know where this gold is really coming from. It's getting dangerous. I'm coming back to Georgia. See you soon. Marv.
Damn.
The fuzz is on to me, Ed.
Was there a next button on the diploma? Oh, that's weird. Okay. The others say finish.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paid off some Brazilian cops. Learned some broken Portuguese. Marv is having fucking South American adventures. Diving from spotlights. Electric panel.
Control room elevator switch number code. My first is in Grinner, but also in Goblin. My second is in Guest, but not in Puddle or Spindle. My third is in Lumber and Goblin, but not in Puddle. My fourth is notable only by its absence.
Okay, control room elevator switch number code. So we can do this in a second, but first I want to figure out where that is. Control room elevator switch number code. We have not yet encountered a code prompt that we don't need, that we can answer except for Neptune's Palace. And then there's also the big old 2106 that's waiting to happen. Okay. So
Pull the curtain. Oh, there's not even a curtain?
it's a projector wall.
Oh. A statue, which is quite beautiful, and made entirely of gold.
Jacqueline Crow, beloved wife and mother, 1982. I see.
And it's on a track or something?
It sure is. Photograph.
Natalie and someone
Crow.
himself.
That's Ed. There's something strange about the frame.
Well, that was easy.
Every few moments something flashes onto the screen. Yeah, looks like the source where all the roots meet up. From the diagram. I wish it wouldn't. Wish a nigga would. Okay. So, we got back here too. And that's a fire for saving.
Ah, good music.
Those are the notes. Antidote. As much as you need. 9-2-18. Big old restock. Because you found the gold key and it's getting bad out there.
The Diary of Edward Crow, age 10 and a half. Saturday. I am excited. Tomorrow, Father and I are going camping up in Condor Country over the river. Father says it is just a nickname, as there are no condors in Georgia. I'm looking forward to the trip nonetheless. I love being outdoors at night. Sunday. Father and I found something strange while camping. A green shiny thing sticking out of the ground. It is wriggling back and forth like a little bug, but Father says it is not a bug. It is made of metal. Monday, we found a second wriggling metal thing a couple of 100 feet south of the first one. Father wanted to know what it is made of. He cut off the tip with his camping knife. Inside is a different metal. It looks like gold. Tuesday, 2 more shiny things. 4 in total. Father says there may be more. Wednesday, Father bought Condor Country, as well as a couple of acres on either side. He said we could rename it if we wish.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Like clockwork.
clockwise. So it's a fucking gold plant, is what we're looking at. It's squirming back and forth. Is it alive? And then space.
The final frontier. Campfire.
Yeah, literal money growing on trees. I mean, yeah, you buy that land. Because it's like, oh, it pays for itself. Okay, it literally is growing money. Oh!
Big Nat.
Hey. 9218. Turning 18 years old in 1992. 9218. Hi, Natalie. How are you feeling?
Not great.
Yeah, me neither. Is it your mother?
Yes. She died some time ago.
I'm sorry. It's a beautiful statue.
It's solid gold.
Yeah, must have been very expensive. Your dad really spared no expense, I guess. Watch, it's not a statue. Did you find him yet? Mr. Crow? No, not yet. I'm still looking for your father. But I have a pretty good idea where he is. I just need to take the central elevator.
Mara, what are you going to do when you find him?
I need to talk with him.
Are you going to kill him?
What? No, of course not.
Don't think I don't see that gun in your hand.
And blood on me.
I see it in your face, too. You've already made up your mind.
Natalie.
I know he's done bad things. Very bad things. Perhaps he is beyond forgiveness. But please, don't kill him. Bring him to me, okay? Let me speak to him. One way or another, today might be my last chance. Please, Mara.
Okay. Why don't you come with me?
No. I don't want to know what's down there. I'll wait here.
Where you been snooping about anyway? How you been laying low? Oh yeah, okay, and those are actual stem cuts with the gold. The thickness of the outer the thickness of the outer layer is the progression of the excavation. So the giant fat roots are because we're getting way close to the base, whereas the smaller ones started at the tip.
That could be it.
Control room. It's a screen. There's a button underneath it. 4. Ah, it's a dice.
Oh.
These are all die.
Yeah.
It's a monitor. It's a video feed from a security camera. Wait a second, that's my car. Looks like Arthur's still inside. Arthur, can you hear me?
Mara, is that you? I can't see you. Where are you?
I'm in a control room.
A control room. Is it cool?
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm jealous. You got to go on a real adventure.
Arthur, how are you feeling?
Not great.
Just stay there, okay?
Mara, are you coming back? Are we going to leave?
Sure. Yeah, I'll be back soon.
Okay, good.
This child is keeping secrets. Well, I mean, there was that. But then we need the actual puzzle solution. It's a metal panel. Elevator power grid. Electrical grid with 5 little digits. All 5 lights are green. It's a monitor. Video feed from a security camera. There's nothing there. Whoa!
Oh.
Jesus Christ, that fucking... That is a... Yeah. That is a startle. Fuck. No mag. Maybe flame.
I would have died. If that was me right there, I'm like, yeah, okay. You got me, I'm dead.
And he goop melt. That was a big boy. Tanked all the flamethrower. Good
Why
old
here?
Good old fashioned fuck you jump scare.
Why here?
Just pure. Couldn't have clenched up tight enough. I'm locked in.
Release security gate. Set floor panel code to 123456.
Oh, if you had no ammo, you would have to do this the hard way while it was chasing you.
Would it have stopped?
No, I mean, you'd have to hit all these floor panels and then run out. Oh, god damn it. Okay.
Reset. 1.
Yeah, this is that would be a proper annoying thing to do while it's chasing you around the room. And like you're like, "Oh no, I have to go hit the button now."
Yeah.
Hey Nat, did you hear that?
She's gone, isn't she? No. Still looking at Mama.
Okay. So. Control room elevator switch number code. My first is in Grinner, but also in Goblin.
So is it the numbers of the file or is it the letters?
It's a number code, so I'm gonna go with numbers.
Let me take note of these numbers. So guest was, oh, I forget. Okay, Goblin 1739. I love taking information down without knowing where I'm going with this. Yeah.
Oh, is this what I already put in? It's just this is the harder way to do it. Oh, okay, okay. This is just the. This is literally just 9218.
Oh, but you can
it-
find it on the wall instead of
so-
solving it there.
Yeah, and apparently in hard mode, it's there's no wall.
Ah.
So yeah. Okay,
Okay, well, thank God.
there you go. Bup, 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 bup.
for a sufficiently long period of time, you could in fact learn something about the collective behavior of
the clique called chaotic chaos. Scientists can't control the order of chaos.
And if you continue to record for even longer periods of time, you would first of all discover that there's a surprising amount of structure to the sound that you're picking up.
Chaos. Chaotic interactions.
In fact, there is some information to be learned.
Chaos is not simply a game.
With chaos game, it's very simple to play, but it has an extraordinary outcome. I begin with the clique called chaotic.
Some say I'm amazing, but I'm sort of for the man. Call for a vector, I'm the leader. Understand, Eggman, Batman, just calls with the case. Watch the bad boys working like Puffin and Mace. Work hard, play hard. I love to see the dream, but I still keep it real if you know what I mean. We'll find the reason why I'm giving you the rhyme. If you got the money, then we got the time. Started off 91, playing keys, having fun, but my destiny was calling me. Went to Angel Island, met up with the man with the pointy hair, solved a little mystery. The rest is history. Had to keep it going, so I headed up a crew. And we do what we do. Bad nicks better get a clue. If you step to us, you better step correct, or you'll be looking like you had a wreck. Where my money at?
Run up on the zone, armadillo rolling tightly. Tough shot to crack, that's why they call me mighty. Take a shot if you think luck is on your side. G, if not, then trust you don't really wanna fight me. I'm old school from back in the day. The echidna is my homie. I even knew Ray. You may think I copied Sonic, but you're thinking whack, bro. When I was rocking black and red before there ever was a shadow. For a while I've been out of the game. Still no one ever seems to forget my name. Mighty with the 1-2. Yeah, you know that. I may go out the picture, but I always seem to roll like a rebel. Running up on the level. When my team's up, we strike a pose and assemble. I'm on my own and I do what I do. But when I'm back home, it's all about the crew. Chaotic.
Chaos.
Seem quite esteemed, charming be aviator supreme. I'm running the skies with some help from Angel Isle. Suckers wanna ride me, your mind up in the fight. You thought it was the money? More like they like the kid just likes to hit the scene for funsies. My flight resembles lightning strikes. Trust me, you don't want it. Death from above when I'm buzzing. Unless it's flowers I'm touching. Appearances deceive. Inspect this insect, you'll see. I literally carry the team when I carry the team. The young-blooded veteran tracker, rinsed by bird. So yes, sir, respect the stature. I float like a monarch, I sting like a poison dart. Hyperactive, action-packed when I'm going off. Combination, deadly stats when the ring's attached. You know you wanna be connected to the beat genius.
This ain't Jesus, East team's the meanest. Never defeat us, keep my ice cold demeanor. Way before assassins made creeds, it was me on the scene. Supreme, serene, ninja warrior beam. Ninjutsu, razor sharp like Ginsu. Step 2, bless you. You picked the wrong deck to flex to. With E to the S-P-I-O, yes. Lightning speed, stealthy type prestige. Know what I mean? Believe you me, you slow pose a Pokemon. Compared to be mighty enough, let's hope to God we don't flatten you beatniks. So heed this, or the homie Vector will proceed to beat shit. My thesis is clear to all. The warning call, you need long arms before you box with the gun. Hack your face like black cats as my faction makes you dash like that rabbit in Atlas. That chaos is magic.
Yeah, I got your knuckles back, so face the fact. Unknown about the lace the track. So send a text, cause now I got biceps and pecs. Ever since the boom enhanced my physical specs. But now the pitiful, venomous, hateful. Being built like a bull means all haters stay miserable. Downcast, ignorance fast. Gotta know, trash talk's tired and past. Still, they gotta go. Run a catchphrase, my crew's in attack phase. Whack plays, smoked and put out over ashtrays. I'm the figure in armadillo chameleon. One is armored and one is in colors by the millions. We got a lead whose lyricism will leave you stricken. We got a clock, does not mean that we bullshitting. I'm that a kid nah, but I ain't a kid nah. When 5 combined into 1, another hit, bro.
Objection! 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 Object!